Good afternoon. Today is the 2nd of April and it's time for another Shambolic Shuffle. Today we're at the National Motor Museum in Beaulieu in the New Forest, and we're outside the statue of Lord Montague, who was the founder of the museum and died a few years ago. There he is. So we're going to go in now and we're going to take a look at some of the interesting things inside. I can't possibly film everything today, and I apologise in advance if there's wind noise. We'll try to film mainly inside rather than outside, and we might go and have a look over there at some on-screen cars and the world of Top Gear as well. Should be interesting. There, look at that. What a pose. So this is the first hall you come to, the National Motor Museum. We've got some old motorbikes at this corner here. There's a matchless there. Got an 1899 Fiat. Interesting radiator. And it's a Fiat Tipo. It's Tipo Zero from 1913. And this is a Model T. It's 1914. Austin 7. Very early one. I think that's the one they used in Top Gear a few years ago, from 23. They first introduced in 22. And this is a 38 Hillman Lynx. They made these in various styles for many, many years. The post-war ones look very similar to this. So yeah, that's the first side of this first room. Looking at a few post-war vehicles now, we've got Lambretta, which is a 1948 Lambretta Model B, 1949 Triumph 6T Thunderbird. Far before the show ever was conceived, that didn't start till 65. Very early Beetle is 1953. Not got the split back window. Nevertheless, a very early car. They didn't start importing them officially into Britain until about 1950, I think. 1963 Austin Mini Cooper S, although that's a 65 plate, so I don't know what's going on with that. Very desirable car these days, certainly. Classic white roof. Late Ford Anglia here is 66 Anglia. They stopped production in 67. Super 123E, probably the nicest one they made, a 1.2 litre engine with a massive 49 horsepower. Next to that we've got Sierra Cosworth, an 86 Sierra RS Cosworth. Those are worth a fortune these days. It's this hatch type. They later made the saloon. For some reason they've got the Citroen C3 flare. It's like the one they had in the Grand Tour, I think, one of these. I don't know why I'm filming that, it's not old enough really. We have, however, got this lovely, what year is this? It's a 1935 Auburn Speedster. It's like the one that they had in, what was that? Remington Steel, that's it. It's a car that he used, very similar to this one. Although I think that might have been a replica, don't quote me on that. Let's just go and take a look at the front of this and see those lovely supercharged lines coming out. Beautiful, beautiful car. So that's the first hall. Let's go and see what we can find in the second one. One of the other cars they had on Top Gear a few years ago was this 1903 Didion Bouton 6 horsepower that James Major Henry Clarkson famously couldn't actually stop or couldn't find the brakes. That was, I'm sure, for entertainment purposes. This isn't really a car, this is an 1875 Grenville steam carriage. Although this very much is. This is the first ever mass-produced car. It's a Benz patent Motorwagen. This, I think, is probably a replica, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it's not the fastest thing in the world and had about 1 horsepower. Over here we've got some other very early cars. 1895 Knight, which looks like a horse and buggy with an engine. 1899 Renault. And very interestingly, this is an electric car. This is a Columbia Electric from 1901. Again, it just looks like a horse and trap or something in a way. Pennington Auto car. Unique car. There's only one of these from 1896. I could go on filming in here all day like this, but obviously this video will get a bit long if I do that, so I'm going to have to probably slim down a little bit what I say and what I film. Although this Calcutt, never heard of one of these before, but here it is, 1923 Calcutt, 11.9 horsepower. Let's have a look at this 1915 Prince Henry Vauxhall. Vauxhall were originally a manufacturer of luxurious sports cars, and this is the one where they got the reputation. It was originally just called a C-Type, but in, I can't remember what it was, 1910, they did the Prince Henry trials in Germany, and they were very successful in Prince Henry trials in Germany, and they decided to rename their cars the Prince Henry after that. This is a Sunbeam from 1914. It's like another Vauxhall, another Prince Henry Vauxhall. We've got two of these, it's pretty amazing. And this is a Lancia, Tipo Corsa from 1910. And Hispano Suiza, a manufacturer who you might not have heard of, but they're maybe coming back if rumours from Geneva are to be, believed to be true. Another very famous car. This is a 1909 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost. This was one of the cars I think used in the Avengers, and we'll go and see a bit later on where they filmed parts of 3 episodes of the Avengers, which was just by Palace House up there. Beautiful Silver Ghost. They made these right the way through to 1927. This is a very early one. As you can see, the wheels are made of wood, and just another de Dion-Bouton for good measure. From Top Gear to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. The car was actually not a proper vintage car. It was built for the film in 1968. This was one of several that were built. This is one used in the flying scenes, and therefore it doesn't have an engine. This is a 1979 Cadillac Seville with a 5.7 litre V8 engine. This is apparently the last car. Sorry, 76, I do apologise. 76 Cadillac Seville. This is 77 model year. It was purchased by Elvis Presley. It was the last car he apparently bought before he died in 1977. It's a bit more tasteful than some of the others he had, although I wouldn't say it's quite my kind of thing. Oh, there he is. Apparently the king is dead and he hasn't left the building. So now we're on to a bit of a different era of cars. This is mainly from the 20s and 30s. That's a Mercedes Model S 36220 from 1928. This is a Rolls-Royce New Phantom, or Phantom 1 as they became to be known later. This is another Vauxhall. You can see these bonnet flutes which persisted right the way through to the 50s, and then I think came back on the FE Victor in 1972. Don't quote me on that, I might be wrong about that, but another Vauxhall. Now, before Jaguar existed, they were a company called Swallow Sidecars, or SS, and this was one of the ones they actually bodied. They didn't make their own cars per se, but they made bodies for other people. So this is Austin 7 Swallow from 1931, and this is an unrestored car, and it will not be restored. It's entirely original. It had one owner from new. It's a beautiful old car. You can just see if we can see the interior here. There's a reflection. This is a lovely 1934 Talbot 105. This is a British-built Talbot. They had a factory in North Kensington in London. As you can see on the badge, it actually says London on it. This was a body it's by James Young of Bromley, who were famous for making Rolls-Royce bodies too. This is an Alvis Speed 25 from 1937. Alvis, of course, didn't last beyond, I think, 67 maybe their last car. Shame, really. Another manufacturer that died about the same time, 69, was Riley. This is an RMB, 1948. The other side, we've got standard Vanguard with some paper lacking on the roof for some reason. This is 51. Lovely Austin A90 Atlantic, 1952. The car had a 2.6 litre 4-cylinder engine, but it was too big for this country and too small for America. It didn't do particularly well. It's a shame. So some have been told, but 90 Mark IIA from 1952. Lovely drop-head coupe. One of the things I've always thought was very nice was the Mark I Ford Consul, which was launched in about 1951. This is a Ford Consul convertible, and they only had a 1.5 litre engine developing 47 horsepower, but they were revolutionary cars in their day. And right next to it is one of the last Rover 75. This is a 2005 Rover 75 1.8 SE Connoisseur. I don't think it was ever registered. It's got 1 mile on the clock apparently, this one. It's not the last one ever made. It was going to go to Malaysia, but they didn't actually ever send it over. It just stayed at the factory and then it was put into storage, and yeah, it's amazing to see something like that here. And we've got a very early Land Rover. This is a 1948 Land Rover, pre-production. Surely your Land Rover experts out there would tell me, you know, what the difference is between that and the production model are. This is a very early, it's a Morris Minor Series MM. It's a 49. You can see the headlamps are low rather than high. They're only high on the export models for that one. This is a Ford Cortina Mark 1. It still says Consul on it, so it's a very early one. And then we find that we've got another Austin 7. This is a slightly later one than the one in the other room. It's a 28. Crossley Burney Streamline. Gosh, I've never seen one of these. This is 1934. Let's take a look at that. Quite remarkable for the day. Look at the back end on that. And right next to it, we've got something a bit more conventional. This is a 1966 Austin A40 Mark II Countryman with the hatchback, one of the first ever hatchback cars. Mark I Golf GTI. This is an 81. It's a post-facelift car. It's got a local car as well. It's a Hampshire. It's got an H over plate. Then a very early Triumph L. This is 1960. This is probably the 948cc model. Yeah, it is. And then this wonderful Hillman Imp. Very early car from 1963. That was the first year of production. That looks to be in beautiful condition. So for the Reliant enthusiasts here, this is a 1953 Reliant Regal 3-wheeler. So convertible as well. Beautiful Rover 2000 P6. Just a 67, yeah, an E-plate. This is a very, very early Mini. This is 1959. XAA 274. This is an Austin version, so it's an Austin 7 actually, because they didn't use the name Mini until a bit later. I think 64, I could be wrong, they changed from 7 to Mini. It's a Deux Chevaux. This is an 86. I think they stopped making them actually in, is it Portugal? They stopped making them in 1990. This apparently is the French one, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Volkswagen Xl1, apparently this has just turned up. It's a 2015. You would have seen this on in Seabrook's real road test a few months ago, actually, when he got hers on. This has got a Volkswagen factory plate on it. So, wow, can't be many of these in this country. Apparently they were £98,000 new. I'll just finish off on this lovely little Peel P50. It's not the one used in Top Gear, that was blue. This one's red. Can't believe how small those are. Very pleased to see this Jarett Javelin. It's a 49. Jarett were a maker in Yorkshire, I think maybe in Bradford. Revolutionary car for the time, but I think they had problems with the engine and the company didn't last beyond, I think 53 is the last year for them. And one of its contemporaries is 1953 Austin 40 Somerset. I think the Jarett does look a lot more modern, but that's just my opinion. Let's have something really nice. This is a 1971 Ford Capri 1600L. So this is quite low down the range in comparison with some of the others you'd see. Look at those vinyl seats. That steering wheel. Very nice Morris 8 Series 2, 1938, Willis Jeep. Another Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I don't know if this is a real one or if it's a replica. They've got quite a few of Chitty Chitty Bang Bangs around here. 1922 Maxwell Charabanc. Haven't heard of Maxwell for some time. Ooh. And a Zeta. There's actually another one of these that we'll see later. Little three-wheeler with BMW badge on it. They were actually made in Britain. This one's made in Brighton. Is this an AEC Regent? Not very good on buses, I'm afraid. Gonna have to bear with me. Let's take a look round the back of here. Yes, I was right, AEC Regent 3. Next to the famous Outspan Orange based on a mini chassis. They can't actually drive it at more than about 30 miles an hour because, as you can imagine, it rolls over. It's built in 1972, it's a Mini 1000 chassis. Daimler bottle sort of van thing, weird sort of curved windscreen. Advertising vehicle for the Worthington's Ale Company. It's an Albion. Don't think it don't honestly know it's a normal one. Bullnose Morris. Oh, my mother actually drove one of this particular car. It was in the 90s. We came to Beaulieu, and she actually drove this very car. And I remember watching this engine temperature gauge going up very high and getting a bit worried about it. But yeah, this is 22 Morris Cowley Bullnose. The Trojan, another make you wouldn't have heard of. A lot of you, unless you were into these really old 20s cars. This is a 24 Trojan PB with very, very solid looking tyres. It's a Datsun, 1935 Datsun. Looks very much like an Austin 7, and that's not really a coincidence because a lot of the sort of bits were based on an Austin 7, and this was apparently imported by Herbert Austin himself in 1935 just to check to see if they were infringing his patents or not. One of the things I like about Beaulieu is the sheer variety of what's here and how things are juxtaposed to each other. So you've got a contemporary Rolls-Royce here right next to this 1939 Harrods electric van, which was apparently used by Harrods themselves right up until 1970. Very sort of 21st century idea to have an electric delivery vehicle for cities, but anyway, this is a Morris Minor delivery van. I thought it would have rubber wings, as a lot of them did. It's a very late one, this, being in 1970 on a J plate. Then we've got this interesting ice cream tricycle. I don't know why that's here particularly, but anyway. Reliant 800 weight van. Looks just like a motorcycle with a body plonked on it, like a bit of like a rickshaw. An Austin 20 horsepower like a tow truck. Oh dear. This Morris Bullman certainly won't be driven around by random people like my mother was. We've got, ooh, that is lovely. Lovely 1912 Austro Daimler from the Chitty Bang Bang film. Beautiful. Lovely colour. 1968 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow. This looks like a standard one. You can tell it's a quite early car, but in fact it's got some quarter lights on it. And as I said, there's the 2018 Rolls-Royce Dawn I mentioned a few moments ago. Very nice 1968 MGC. Not an MGB, an MGC. It had the 6-cylinder engine out of the Austin Healey 3000, and as you can see there's a big bonnet bulge here because they couldn't fit a 6-cylinder engine into the bay designed for a 4-cylinder car easily. But it was a total disaster because the engine wasn't actually that powerful and had a tendency to handle very badly because it was a much heavier unit than the B series that was in it, so it didn't last very long, and eventually they brought along the MGB V8, which was the 3.5 litre Rover V8. That was a lot more successful. Austin Healey 100M from 1956. Such a handsome car. Very nice 30s Fraser Nash here. Next to a Morgan, that's a 3-wheel Morgan, 927. And a Dello. Gosh, I haven't seen one of those in real life ever. It's a purpose-built trials car. Apparently this was supercharged. Another trials car here. It's an M&L Trials Special. I'm not even sure that was ever meant to go on the road. It doesn't even have a number plate on it. No. Very popular sport in the 50s trialling. And we've got Lovely's MG Midget, M-Type Midget, 1930, Triumph TR2, 1954, and one of the most beautiful cars of the 1950s, 1961 Lotus Elite Series 2, designed, I believe, in about 1957 by a chap called Peter Kirkland Taylor, who also designed the Citroën Bijou